Today on 3D Outdoors, we're working on the Can-Am again. Like I said in the first video there, one of the things we wanted to do to this one is add a stereo system since it didn't come with one pre-installed in it. Let's take a look here inside. I'm explaining what we need to do. Climb on in here. So the stereo system goes right up here in the header unit right here. This doesn't have the full roof one. Some of the fancier units have a whole roof that pops out if you stop to party somewhere or whatever. I don't need that. I just like a 2-speaker system. So we're going to pull this down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts there. 2 right here that got to come out. We'll pull all of those out and get this header down. And then there are predetermined cutouts. This will have a square one behind it. We're gonna have to figure it out. I got a round stereo, so we'll just X mark that one. And I think these take 5-inch cutouts for the 6.5-inch speakers. I think those are marked on the inside too. So we'll get this taken down. We'll get it over on the bench and then we'll start working on it. All right, we got that header piece pulled out of there. Got it over here on the bench. And I'll show you what I mean. When we flip this over to the back side here, their factory Jensen or whatever they put in them would go in this slot. You would cut this out and go right in. I'm going to need a 3-inch circle in the middle of this, so I'll just make an X in here, drill through the center with my hole saw and take that. I have a 3-inch hole saw that should take care of that. And then the sides, the speakers, they already have them designated out here. And I have the Sony box because I got Sony 6.5-inch speakers to go in there. And I popped out their mold and it fits perfectly. So I'll just cut with my Dremel around this circle on each side, and then I'll mount the speaker in there, and then we'll run the wiring. So we'll get back to you as soon as we're doing that. All right, the stereo is installed in the headpiece here. Got to do the wiring in the back yet. 3-inch hole saw for this Boss Audio System drill hole. You can see there it's a 3-inch round circle. Then all you do is pop the faceplate off of it, which we can remount now that it's in there. Just pop that back on there. There's 4 screws that hold that in. I believe it's a 5-inch. If you wanted to use a hole saw, I ended up using Dremel with a cutter wheel. Hole saw probably would work better. The Sony speakers come with a cutout in it. I believe it's 5 inches across, 6 1/4 to the outside. I don't see the actual dimension listed there, but I think it's 5 inches. You'd have to double check before you start drilling there. But like I said, on the back side, there is a design on there. I just followed that line and cut it out with the Dremel. Came out just fine. I have to hook up the wiring on the back side here. All right, the wiring of this overhead piece is pretty straightforward. The speakers, the Sony speakers, are color coded for their wires. You can only plug them in a certain way back here. And when you're wiring it up to the back of this stereo, you just look for the labels, and that'll tell you the striped wire or the non-striped wire. Just took and hooked them up to both sides appropriately. I've taken both the constant and the switch power wires and put them together, and I'm going to put them to the switched power and hook them in up above, and I have my ground wire ready to go. I'll show you where those go inside. We won't have this running while we're lifting it in. They're going to be a 2-person job lifting this back up in here afterwards. But we figured out up here, let me get some light going, that obviously you have a power in, you have a power out, a hot side and a ground side, but there is no constant switch power. If you desire that, or you put a system in that you need that, you're going to have to run that up here yourself. But we're going to take a 10mm, take those loose, wire it in, and then put everything back up here again, and we'll bring you back for the final reveal. All right, we got the header put back in here. You can see the stereos installed there, nice and solid. It was just putting those 2, 4, 6, 8 screws back in after I hooked up the power and the ground. Like I said, there's no constant power on this one, and there's no antenna either. So if I want to get radio stations at some point, I'll have to put an antenna on this thing. It doesn't seem to pick anything up without an antenna, which is not surprising. But if I turn the key on, it'll bring the power on the unit, as you can see right there. And I'm just going to stream. Alright, so I will have muted that part right there because, well, there have been music playing in that. So, but as you can see, it all works. Sounds great. So if you want to save yourself about $1,000, you could easily go online, pick up a couple of 6.5 inch. I picked up the Sony's there, and that Boss head unit, and you'll save yourself $1,000 by putting a couple hours in a little bit of work. This is Dan with 3D Outdoors, reminding you to get into the outdoors and enjoy everything it has to offer. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button down below, and you always follow us over at 3d-outdoors.com, which is our website where we put everything together. See you next time.